Oh look, a Teen Titans episode that proves me right about something. Must be one of my favorites. Today we're talking about the Teen Titans episode Lightspeed, the episode which I think he had a cameo before this, but it properly introduces Kid Flash, Wally West, the version of the Flash that I grew up with through the Justice League cartoon, voiced by the same actor. And while whenever I think back on this episode, I think of this episode as the episode about Kid Flash in the Teen Titans cartoon, it's really more about the Hive Five. It is a takeover episode. They take over the show from the Teen Titans, and they're really shown to be an opposite counterpart to that team. Though they're still called the Hive Five, and there's 6 of them. Not really sure why that is. I guess Hive Five does sound cooler. And while it is kind of about all of them, while all of them do play prominent roles in the story, it's really about Jinx, who has really settled into the role of their leader. It opens on a museum heist, it looks like, where the other 5 are just interested in stealing stuff to make themselves rich or to make themselves seem rich. But Jinx is interested in stealing a necklace that we get a little bit of lore drop that supposedly there's a story about the necklace that it brings good luck. Her power, though she's learned how to channel it to do more than just be unlucky, is bad luck. So this scene, which reintroduces these characters and reintroduces us to their powers and kind of sets the stage for what we're going to be dealing with this episode, also sets the stage for her story in the episode. The implication of that being pretty strongly that she either wants to cancel out her bad luck powers and be just a normal person, or she wants to shift them to being like good luck powers, so she can actually do something positive with them. And this is substantiated throughout the episode. She doesn't want to be this. It's just that she never felt like she had a choice, which, depending on how hard you read into it, can say a lot of stuff. Because you also have Kid Flash in this episode who, until they really know what they're dealing with, the Hive Five are just not equipped to deal with him at all. His power set is akin to like a god's in the comics, and it seems like they aren't far off from that here either, except, he burns calories really fast. He can get tired. But we know that superheroes in this universe have the authority to drop supervillains, known supervillains, off at jail and they'll be detained. But he doesn't do that with the Hive Five when he has multiple opportunities to do so with his godlike speed. The implication being that he understands that these are just kids dicking around doing stupid stuff. They're not really hurting anybody, and they deserve a chance to get their lives together. And when he sees the opening to try to redeem Jinx, he takes it. Because it's pretty clear he either overheard the discussion of the necklace or he deduced the same thing I did from it. So he kind of recognizes that maybe she doesn't want to be a bad guy. And like, the episode does come around to them capturing him for a limited period of time because they don't know he can phase through solid objects. He's the frickin' Flash. They do capture him, and Jinx does call the Brotherhood. She calls Madame Rouge in particular to come get him because this is the Flash. Well, it's the Kid Flash, but it's the Flash. He's the Flash. It's the Flash. They're gonna want him. They're gonna want to take him in and like kill him or capture him or whatever, right? He's that dangerous. But it's so obvious that she's just trying to get in with the Brotherhood. Jinx is just trying to get in with the Brotherhood because she doesn't feel like she can ever make anything of herself any other way. And she flat out says it at one point in the episode, that this is the only way she can be somebody with her power set. Or at least that's how she feels. That's what she's always thought or always been told or whatever. The implication is that there is some history weighing on her. It doesn't matter what the history specifically is. It just matters that we see the effect of it. And it's very well realized. Like the specific scene where the Hive Five finally get the best of Flash. Kid Flash. I'm just going to call him Flash. I apologize. The scene where they finally get the best of Flash, she tricks him into taking her hand so that she can get off a blast with her powers. And the voice acting in this episode is so good that you can tell the exact moment she goes from being like honestly introspective to trying to fool him. She says something along the lines of that was never an option for me or something, like being a good guy, something along those lines. I'll try to remember to include the actual clip in here somewhere. But and it sounds genuine. But then the next line where she's starting to actually deceive him sounds just a little less genuine. It sounds like she's acting. And the voice acting here is so good. I think it's Lauren Tom plays her. God tier voice acting in that moment especially. Just mwah.
It's too late for me anyways.
It's never too late.
What about the Hive 5? They'd come after me.
Let me worry about them.
And there's also a flirty thing between them, and by the end it's implied that they are gonna hook up, which is pretty cute. They make a pretty cute couple. Their dynamic in this is great. In fact, one of the best things about this episode is the character dynamics. I still loathe Billy Numerous, but the rest of the Hive 5 felt like real people, except for, like, what was his name? The Batman-looking guy that can make portals. I don't remember. We don't get much of him, but, I mean, even he comes off as, like, cool and stoic, right? And the others, they feel more fleshed out here than they ever have before, just through their, like, standard downtime behavior that we get to see and their interactions with each other. And in the end, Jinx does stand up to Madame Rouge for Flash's sake. And this finally gets Madame Rouge's attention, but you never feel like Jinx is going to make the mistake to actually try to join her. At least not long term, after this. It's pretty clear who she's going to choose in the end. And like the rest of the Hive 5, they're still criminals, but they're still the relatively harmless criminals that they were before. And so this episode not only talks about circumstance and how circumstance plays into becoming a criminal, but also, if you look at it from a certain angle, takes a stand that some crimes aren't like inherently harmful, which is a thing that we're finally starting to talk about in the real world nowadays, like more openly and publicly. Like, obviously, I don't think people should do crimes, but it's not because I think crimes are inherently immoral. Like, some of them are, absolutely, but some stuff isn't. And, like, I think people shouldn't do crimes because it's far more important that we eliminate the cause of crime, rather than just react to the outcome of crime. Like, for example, if you're starving, steal food. If that's the only option you have, steal food. We are not providing food to everyone yet. We could be, but we're not. So if it's a matter of life or death, steal food. Steal something that you can sell for food. That doesn't mean, like, I think crime is good. It just means I think we need to focus on the causes of it. And I don't know that that's necessarily what this episode was saying, right? But it made me think of that conversation that is being had in the real world today. It just, if that is kind of what they were implying, that some crimes are not inherently bad just for being crimes, that some things can be let off, right? I feel like it's a little ahead of its time, right? And in a show where so many of the villains are very transparently bad, just wholesale, and the solution is to beat them up or throw them in prison, it was nice to see a hero in this world trying to redeem at least one of the villains. Like, you could argue even that he thinks if their leader gets redeemed, the rest will follow, right? It was a refreshing change of pace, and proves definitively what I've been saying about how this show should have had Titans East episodes. Like, these aren't the Titans East, obviously, but, like, I'm going to throw them into the mix, too. I think every season, we should have been getting a couple episodes, instead of some of the goofier filler we've been getting, we should have been getting a couple episodes where the Titans East and the Hive 5 took over the show for an episode, like this. This episode proves that that's possible, and that there is so much more potential in the minor characters in this show than we ever got out of them. And it bums me out. Like, I remembered a lot about this episode. This is one that I have seen before, and I remember really, really liking it. Rewatching it, though, I'm even more bummed out than I already was that this show hasn't gotten a proper continuation, despite how much fans want that. Because this episode proves how much potential still exists in this show, all on its own, just by focusing on these minor characters. Lightspeed is a truly excellent example of this show, from everything from the character dynamics to the humor to the action. The action scenes involving Flash's powers in this episode were spectacular, though I do have some trouble with Madame Rouge being able to keep up with him. Her power set up to this point did not seem to include being able to stretch her body as fast as the Flash can run. But that's fine. The action scenes in this were still some of the best of this season, so far at least. Like, I know some people tend to skip the episodes of this show that aren't, like, plot relevant when they rewatch, but this is definitely one you should not be skipping. In part because it actually is plot relevant for, like, the season finale, but we'll get to that when we get to it. As per usual, I'd like to know, what do you guys think of the Teen Titans episode Lightspeed, if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comments section down below, and while you're down there, you might as well like the video, share it with anyone else you think would enjoy my content, subscribe if you haven't. You can also check out links to my various social medias, as well as the many ways you can help out the channel. Those will be in the video description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.